We'll talk a lot about it now. Thank you very much, Steve, for the emails. But let's deal with it properly. Baby Driver out this week.
Well, as I told you last week, I mean, I absolutely love it, and I've seen it several times now. So it is an idea that Edgar Wright has been noodling away at for a long time. If you've seen Mint Royale's Blue Song, the video with Noel Fielding dancing in the car, you've sort of seen the setup to it. That's kind of like the dry run for the movie. Story is that Ansel Elgort is the eponymous Baby Driver. He was a joyrider. He's now in debt to criminal kingpin Doc. He has to keep working one more job to get it. The thing that he does is he's a getaway driver. However, he's a getaway driver with a hum in the drum, tinnitus, which is something from which you suffer.
Yeah. And tinnitus if you're Kevin Spacey.
Yes, exactly. And zebra also comes up. And he wears earphones with carefully chosen iPod playlists by which to drown out the sound of the hum in the drum, but also to essentially choreograph his life. He is somebody who is living life in a musical in that way that anyone who's walked down the street with a pair of headphones sort of dancing along to the theme from Saturday Night Fever knows what that's like. So essentially the movie is a car chase movie inspired by things like Walter Hill's The Driver and Edgar's love of movies like The Blues Brothers and The French Connection and Bullet. On the other hand, it is a musical in which everything is cut and choreographed very, very sharply to a fantastically chosen soundtrack. So when you're watching the movie, I mean, Edgar Wright did a season at the BFI called Car Land, which actually but brilliantly sort of sums up the way in which this film is part car chase movie, part musical, romantic, fantasia, with a sort of true romance inflected story in which the one certainty in Baby's life is that he's falling in love with a waitress at the local diner called Deborah, who in her black and white, diner does indeed look a little bit like a zebra. Here's a clip.
So you're just starting your day, or did you just get off?
Oh, I don't know if I ever get off. They call, I go,
So what is it you do?
I'm a driver.
Oh, like a chauffeur. You drive around important people.
I guess I do.
Anyone I'd know?
I hope not.
Well, aren't you mysterious?
Maybe.
Maybe? So when was the last time you hit the road just for fun?
Yesterday.
I'm jealous. Sometimes all I want to do is head west on 20 in a car I can't afford with a plan I don't have. Just me, my music, and the road.
I'd like that, too.
So you can hear in that, a bit of true romance, a bit of Jim McBride's Breathless as opposed to Abu Dussouf, and this kind of retro vibe going on all the way through it. And all the way through the movie, there is this sort of musical background to which the actions are actually cut. When Baby is making a peanut butter sandwich, he's dancing around the room to the sound of whatever he's got on his playlist. And so you've got these two different themes, two different elements, the action and the musical, which are threaded together. And people have, we've often talked here on the show about action movies, fight movies being like modern ballet. When we're talking about The Raid, we talked about that. And if you see a really sort of well choreographed martial arts film, it is like watching a dance movie. In fact, in the that is it Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, it actually does turn at one point into a musical. In the case of this, the musical elements are not just the way in which Baby at the beginning is seen walking, doing a coffee run to the Harlem Shuffle, and as he walks down the streets, magically on the walls there appear the lyrics of the song. I mean, brilliantly done. That's CG, incidentally, because that's the only way you could get some of that stuff done. And in fact, I think that sequence, not quite the opening sequence, it's immediately after the opening sequence, is every bit as seamless as the opening freeway dance from La La Land.
Yeah.
To which I think it does owe a debt. But I think just from the level of brilliantly exciting, visceral cinema, this is just a rip-roaring romp from beginning to end. I love the fact that it's clearly the film that Edgar Wright wanted to make. I mean, as you know, he walked away from Ant-Man. He was writer and director on it, and then suddenly he wasn't writer and director on it anymore. He was still going to direct, but it wasn't the project that he wanted, and he walked away. And walking away from it basically gave him, I think, the determination to go, okay, well, Baby Driver is the thing I'm going to do next. And you can tell when somebody's making a film that they're in love with. And sometimes that's not necessarily the best thing. I mean, sometimes directors make films that they're in love with, and and they sort of lose sight of the audience. This is a film which never does that. This is a film which is absolutely got a handle on its audience and what its audience, want from the film all the way through. So along with Edgar Wright's love of, as I said, The Driver, Bullet, French Connection, those kind of movies, and his musical sensibility, which we've seen in things like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and his very sharp wit, which I've always found funny, because I think the Cornetto trilogy is, it's visually sharp as well as, well written and played. It's got, if you look at Hot Fuzz is put together like when people are they're shuffling cards, they do those things that you never forget. Watching a
riffle shuffle.
Is that what it's called? A riffle shuffle. Okay, well, watching an Edgar Wright movie is like watching a riffle shuffle. It's like watching somebody doing that stuff with a pack of cards. It's like close magic. It's so dexterous. It's so flexible. It's so tactile that there's a real cinematic thrill in it. The story is kind of knowingly referring to other stories. So, it's that classic sort of, as I said, Bonnie and Clyde, true romance, Badlands, all those are elements in it. But the film itself is playing its car chases, playing its automotive sequences with the sounds of crunching gears and and drums and horns and guitars all mixed together in this kind of frenetic, package, which literally jumps off the screen and grabs your attention. The first time I saw it, I thought that was really good. I was just really surprised by how much fun it was, how much, the musical cues were really sort of perfectly judged and the visuals were absolutely cut to them. The second time round, I was really knocked out. And by the third time round, I was thinking, this is just, it's like watching somebody. It's like watching Ginger Baker play the drums. It's like watching somebody who is in love with the instrument and they're having fun and they want you to share. When you said about that interview with Edgar Wright, you said it's like he's got this, puppyish enthusiasm. Yeah. He wants to engage, he wants you to, and I think he's like that anyway. But I think of all his films, and I'm still Scott Pilgrim versus the World has a very particular place in my heart because it was reviewed here on the show. Boyd Hilton reviewed it. I think Boyd and Nigel Floyd did it together, and Nigel didn't go for it, and Boyd really did, and Boyd really clicked with it, and he loved it. And then of course the film did not do well. It had a terrible time at the box office, because it cost quite a lot of money, and it did sort of Howard the Duck level of not finding its audience. But since then, it's grown and it's become this absolute cult success. The thing with Baby Driver is it feels like an immediate cult success. It feels like the kind of movie that will have that sort of audience and that kind of dedication for years to come, but it's got it already. I really enjoyed the heck out of it. And the thing I really enjoyed about it was it's so cinematic. It is like watching somebody who loves cinema showing you what they can do with it and enjoying themselves and wanting you to go along for the ride. And I absolutely did. And yes, I saw Ferris Bueller, and yes, I saw Risky Business, and yes, I saw, Blues and all those other things in it. But it was Edgar Wright's movie. It couldn't have been anybody else that would have made it. And I just thought it was terrific.